it's Insano Jesus up front. Wow! This is amazing, man. I never get to see you guys up front, up close and personal. This is the first time I've ever really been recognized. I walked into a room. It was like that scene in Return of the Jedi where the Ewoks were like, oh. I'm not calling you Ewoks. I'm just saying everyone is like, what, Spoony? What? And we love you. And I'm like, you do? Thank you. And so I want your baby. You gotta form an orderly line. The first thing I have to tell you guys, we're going to do some Q&A. I'd be happy to answer your questions. If you'd like to ask some questions for me, there's a black line in the middle of the aisle there. There's a guy with a microphone who will very kindly help you ask some questions. So just if you're interested in asking questions, just line up over there. Man, I never thought that if you'd asked me 5 years ago if I thought I'd be in front of a convention, talking to some fans who have seen the weird stuff I've done, I would have never done this. And so I think I'll actually start off by answering one question. I know that I've been asked pretty much every time I've gotten in front of people. It's how did you get started? I didn't see myself doing this, that's for sure. Not because okay. When I started off, I was going to college for a computer science degree because I always saw myself designing software or something like that. I'm a huge computer nerd, right? And 3 years into that, I saw the scariest movie I'd ever seen in my life, Office Space. That is the scariest horror movie in the world. I'm not joking. Because if you've worked a white-collar job, they're not making that up. It's true. All that stuff about the evil boss and the guy who wants you to come in on Saturdays and stuff like that. Oh, it's like that. Dilbert, it's like that. And so, you have no idea the depression I went through in my my junior year. I was like, this is what I'm going into. Then I went into that. And I got fired. You know what was really bad was I had this job where I was actually facilitating outsourcing. Do exactly what I do it better, and demand about half as much money. Well, we'll get to that. But I was actually dealing with the outsourcing in India, basically being the guy who was sending jobs overseas. So you think you were going through this existential crisis. I was the Benedict Arnold of America. I was selling you guys out. It was the worst thing ever. So it was the best thing ever happened to me. I got fired because then I had finally had time to devote to what I do now, the videos, which is awesome. So basically how it started was I bought this camera because I think every college student has this phase where they're like, I'm going to write the great American novel. Or, everyone's kind of started that. We're like, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a screenplay. Everyone saw Clerks and was like, I can do that. I can shoot a movie. So basically the screenplay I wrote was Clerks. I worked for 5 years at a game store, selling Dungeons and Dragons books, Pokemon's cards, things like that. So I basically wrote a screenplay about my experiences there. And I'm being a little harsh on myself. Maybe it wasn't exactly like Clerks. It was the same setup though. It was an autobiographical account of me doing all this stuff in the store. And it didn't really go anywhere. And then I had this idea I was going to do a Mystery Science Theater fan vid, which is why I built the blue robot Burton. Burton is not nearly as cool as you think he is. He's a very temperamental little guy. He's very fragile. I would bring him everywhere if I could. I'd have him right here if I could, but he does not travel well. He barely stands still well. He's a dustbuster on a bucket. But, I built this thing, and I'm like, I'm going to do Mystery Science Theater. And then I asked my friends, I'm like, hey, guys, I got this idea for a show. We're going to make fun of really shitty movies. Do you guys want to watch Blood Rain with me? And they're like, what? Yeah, we're going to watch Blood Rain 5 times. And we're going to write on it, and then we're going to watch it again. And then we're going to make fun of it with my robot. So I'm going to be in front of the camera because one of you guys has to hunch on the ground and puppet that fucking robot. And they're like, why are we friends again? So the Mystery Science Theater didn't work out. So all of a sudden I had this camera. It cost $900. And I was like, what do I do? So like I was just bitching about games. And so it kind of evolved from like these early games where I was just improvising stuff. Like the early games like Bayou Billy. Have you ever played Bayou Billy? I hate that game. This was before the interwebs. This was before you had like GameFAQs and GameSpot, whatever critic you trust to look online to see whether or not a game sucks. Like nowadays, if you want to know if a game sucks, you Google it. You go to the message board and you're like, does this game suck? And you instantly get like 300 messages like, yeah, this game eats, don't buy this game. Like Alpha Protocol. Is Alpha Protocol any good? And you're like, no. But back in the day, I would have bought Alpha Protocol because I was like, an espionage game? I'm so sold. So like Bayou Billy. So like when you buy Bayou Billy, that's like the one game you got for Christmas. You were finishing that game. That was your game. If it sucked, you were like, damn it, I have to see the ending. And in the Nintendo days, the ending was never worth it. It was, congratulations, you have completed a great game. You know, like Bayou Billy actually had a better ending than most, but that was it. So it's been a really evolving process ever since then. I've been adding new technology. Like I've been actually writing scripts for a change. It's awesome. But where it really started, like I finally started taking it seriously was Final Fantasy VIII. Back in that day, nobody dared make fun of Final Fantasy yet. I hated that game when I was a kid. I was like, Final Fantasy VII rocked my socks. And then 8 came out and I was like, what is this shit? Like this guy with the jacket and the gunblade killed me. I still get to this day messages from fans saying like, you know the gunblade actually existed. It's historically accurate, so it's not stupid. And then right beneath it there's a link to the Wikipedia article for gunblades. And I'm like, yes, it existed, but that still doesn't make it not stupid. It's still very stupid. But yeah, Final Fantasy VIII was where I finally started, like, apparently I had like 20 followers on YouTube by that point. But apparently those 20 followers were like, he said what? That son of a bitch. You gotta hear what this asshole said about Final Fantasy VIII. So apparently they sent the link to like all their friends, and like their 20 friends sent it to their 20 friends, and so on and so forth. And all of a sudden I get like 400 messages in my YouTube account, like, you are gonna die. You are a dead man. And so I think it kind of became like a Howard Sternish thing where people just wanted to see what I had to say next because I was just out of my mind. Like this, he doesn't like Final Fantasy. What? You know, and it's seriously just a matter of personal preference. But you know, it started getting really funny. Like I got death threats. Now I don't take internet death threats that seriously because people just type whatever they want to say online. But my favorite one, and one I will remember to my dying day, is my favorite death threat that nobody has topped in the 3.5 years that I started doing this, where it said, "You motherfucker, I hope you die getting hit by a truck full of cancer." Lol. And I was like, that imagery is astounding. Just picture that for a second. I was like, that's awesome. So as soon as I got responses like that, I'm like, I'm doing another one. I am going to troll the world. So yeah, and then, you know, it just kind of snowballed, man. I just started doing more and more. So, okay, that's how it got started. So I've been having you guys stand around for way too long. Ask your first question, then. Rock the mic.
This question didn't sound really convoluted. I'm sorry if it does. Whenever I watch your vlogs, like when you did Halloween 2, or maybe when you watch TNA Wrestling, you seem really distraught and really unhappy. And I'm on the camera. Hello. But when you know, you know going into it that's terrible, but it's not that same kind of it's so bad it's good. It's just like you seem really angry and really sad that you seem distraught. And I wanted to know, do you go see those because you feel like as a critic you're kind of obligated to do it, or you just like making fun of it?
It depends. Like movies like Halloween 2, I kind of have to see as a critic. Like Eclipse. I haven't seen that one yet, but I have to.